So I am George. I'm Julian's brother. It's a kind of love-hate relationship in many ways, because when you realize that the older you get, your brother gets slightly better than you in certain ways, it's a very frustrating place to be, especially as I'm a strategist by trade and he is a creative. And so strategists are revered in this world like artists, right? It's like they're the most important thing in the world. And then creative comes in the room and everyone's like, oh my god, this is the best thing, like, because who cares about strategy when the creative is what you're actually going to be seeing and loving. And we were just having a conversation that, do I actually need Jodian anymore? Because maybe we should just go full AI. Maybe we should be offering to our clients and saying, actually, we're going to go full synthetic. We're going to go synthetic agency. I don't need him to put up with Jodian anymore. Jodian can go and do his own thing. I'm just going to replicate him as an AI replicant. It might not be as good. It could be about 7 out of 10, but that's still pretty good in the creative world. And we were just discussing, because I think we should just go all in.
So I'm going to go on a yacht and chill out. What are you doing?
Well, I'm plotting to take over the world here on my own. Because it's a funny thing, isn't it? When you've got like tools that you can now do pretty much anything that we would normally do. And like, I think it was probably about 18 months ago. And actually, we were one of the first agencies to create ads using AI. So back in 2022, we were asked, could we go and put together an ad, I think it was for Nespresso, and came back and created a world which looked almost like a child had tried to put something together.
A horror movie.
It was stuff of almost like in moments of Dali-esque brilliance, and you were like, and it's so funny now that when I look at it, and I wish we could go back to that moment where everything felt almost a bit naive. It felt more like it was original as such.
It's become too perfect now. That stuff, looking back at it, it was like unhinged in places. That was just like, there was so much more inspiration you could get from it. Now it's too good. Like, it's almost like we're now lost. It's become sort of more vanilla in its very nature because it's become too polished, which is fascinating.
So I was thinking, if I could replace Jodian, then I could also replace me, which I think would be wonderful. Because in this sort of setting, where would I rather be right now? Of course with you, and imparting all this knowledge that we've learned recently, that actually we're going to get replaced in one way. But I could then go and focus on other things that maybe could be a bit more helpful in the world than necessary communication and advertising. But
I think there's a slight problem. Is that, so we found recently that AI is actually a compulsive liar. And it's quite weird to have a conversation where you ask them a very direct question and you say, is this the best thing? And actually I was researching the best protein powder to buy, we'll use that as an example, and it came back and it went, this one is the best protein powder, and I was like, brilliant, and it even gave me a link to buy it, and I bought it because I was like, this is great, I've found the best thing, da 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 da. And I was like, I think I was on my way to work and I was like going, hang on a minute, is it the best thing? And I didn't question it, I just assumed AI was right. I went back to it, I went on Claude and I said, was this the best one? Are there no other better ones out there? And it goes, just looking at this again, it is not the best one. And I was like, so you lied to me. And it said, really sorry about that, next time I'll do better. And you're like, if that is the case with a simple task like just asking what is the best, then arguably when we're kind of like basing our decisions upon, or creative decisions or strategic decisions on their word being not lies and their word being an honest overview and using all the sources it has, we suddenly make decisions and we go, yeah, so how, my sort of pushback to you is like, how do we deal with the compulsive liar in the room? Humans lie, right? We lie as well. We make stuff up. I mean,
we have confirmation bias, so we will go and we have a thought, and when we go and confirm it, when we go on Google or on AI and tell this, and so I can't see that can be such a problem. You just need to learn how to prompt better, and unfortunately, AI has been built on a logic and a model which has been defined by that you are only as good as the prompts that you give. The unfortunate bit is that we start treating it like a human. And so we expect that you go and tell them something, and even now we refer it to oneself, a thing. It's more than that. And then what happens is that the answer that you get, it can't learn in the same way as a human does. It doesn't absorb the information like you want it to, because it's still in an elemental stage. So, but I still think that we can build a replicant of someone who could go and define a strategy from getting finding an audience, finding what would make something very intriguing to play off creatively, and then move from there.
So, okay, so let's say we do it, that we go full AI, maybe tomorrow, maybe not. How are we going to do it?
Okay, so I'm picturing that I'm going to put Julian in a room for about 6 months, and I'm going to ask him as many questions as possible. I'm going to take all his work, all his genius, some genius, put it all into a model, and then we can say farewell. We're done.
And so in terms of like humor and everything like that, it's going to know all the nuances of my humor, my like direction, my taste. Is it that, do you think it's going to fully encompass that, so that we can go, oh, I can go on the yacht, and you can, whatever you want to do, and then we can just sit back and watch the great work come out of 10 days?
You got me there, because AI is not funny.
AI is not funny.
It is not funny. And I can't work out why it can't tell jokes, like good jokes. I can't.
It should be able to.
It should be able to.
So we actually did an ad that is fully AI, and it was a humor ad, and it had a half, I guess you could say, wearing a horse's head mask, but all done in AI. Very silly, very fun. And we actually treated the whole thing like I would any other production. So we had casting. So we were like, who are we going to cast? And you might think that's very weird, but we were like writing down our brief and going, we want this person to look like this, here's the age bracket, here's this. And so we did a full casting. And we even did storyboards in AI before we actually did it in, just the handwritten style drawings of storyboards. And then we got into like the sort of actual production process. We treated it like a production, and then to the point where we were doing prompts to get different takes to work out whether that humor was thing. So I was, as a director of it, I was looking at it and going, which is the funniest take? So it's just like being on a shoot, where I'm like, oh, actually, I didn't get that one. Could actually, if those 3 takes weren't right, the 4th take, could that be a bit more nuanced? Could be like this? We've made a very funny ad in AI, subjectively, very funny ad. But it couldn't, without my input and my sort of things, I'm not sure we would have got anywhere close. And the first iteration was awful, like so unfunny. We actually thought, what have we done? This is just not going to land. But it took a lot of crafting to get there. So my fear is, even with this 6-month Jolien in a room thing, is it going to be able to do that level of like nuance?
Well, I think the question is, can a client do that? Can a client go and then direct see the world in that same way? And can we get to an agentic version where they don't need the Jodian mind or directorial approach, and that a client could just go and almost be able to say, this is good or this is not good? To your point, you have very high standards, and I'm not saying that clients don't have high standards. The issue is that what clients are great at aren't necessarily what we're great at, which often is in terms of challenging what they would expect to be the norm, looking at a craft at a level which is where good enough is not just good enough. Like, we are always pushing for greatness in that sense, even with a human with a horse's head on top.
I think, but currently AI is like your biggest supporter. Every time you say something, it's like, that's great, that's the best thing I've ever seen, and they're rallying behind it. So to your point, there, it's like, how can we get to a point where, even with my standards in place or whatever that may look like, how are we actually going to measure that?
It's. I mean, I'm sure you found AI is very sycophantic. It thinks that anything you say is the right thing to say, and it might well be you come up with an idea, and let's take a car brand and say, oh, this car brand should be positioned as like a fashion brand. They'll go, this is the best idea I've heard today, and then you go and say, do you know what? Actually, I think that it should be positioned like a toy car brand. And it goes,
That's even better.
The thinking in this is just outstanding. So who is going to look after the client?
Yeah.
Who's going to be have a supporting role?
And clients are always going to want that human interaction as well, right?
To a point, I think that there are certain tasks where probably clients would go, do you know what, I really don't want to have to deal with this person today. And there's probably, when it comes to the organizational stuff, to be able to look at, from an accounting point of view, all those functional moments, but the emotional moments, I think everyone needs a sense of validation that something is good.
Yeah.
And unless you go and put that idea out in the world and get validated by an audience, which you could do. All right, how about this? Why don't we make replicants of the audience? So we create synthetic audiences.
Yeah.
All right? Now, hear me out. Okay, this is going to be good. Right. So let's go even further. Let's make synthetic clients as well.
Okay, I like that.
Okay, so the client has their own version of themselves.
Yeah.
And then that client, agentic client, will then talk to the agentic you or agency.
Yeah.
And then we will test that idea with a agentic audience. So we'll go and put all that research into those different demographics, pull that all in, get them to respond, hopefully in a less sycophantic way than it does with everything else. And then we can have this perma loop happening where client briefs, and we'll get the client to be thinking, so we'll put the cultural calendar in, so we don't even need to think like, well, the briefs are coming out. You'll be working without even knowing you're working in the background. The audience will be going, this is amazing. And then we put that work out in the world, wait for it, then we get the results, feed that back in, and then we're on an eternal loop. So essentially, we might not even need clients as well at this rate. And we could just go full circle. So we're feeding the algorithm with an algorithmic version of all ourselves. I jest. This has gone far. It's gone far too far in this world. Let me take this back for a second. So the issue that we have at the moment is that AI it's not necessarily that it has accidental taste if it lands on something, but what we don't know is who can validate that taste.
Yeah, that's the big one, right?
And when it comes to humor, it still struggles with being funny. And we were brought up on The Simpsons. We were infiltrated with our sense of humor, and alas, that sometimes means that we will write similar jokes that fortunately such a successful franchise a lot of people find funny, but we fall back into that kind of that style of humor, which can be a great thing. And we love humor because we know that humor always connects with people. Like everyone, brands nowadays, for some reason, they just want to be as straight as possible because they don't want to offend anyone, where actually it's far better to kind of pick a side, pick a belief, and then start being playful with that. Yep. But the issue that we have at the moment is like, how can we train something to be funny? Because humor comes from understanding culture.
Yeah, there's a nuance, isn't it?
It is a real nuance.
Yeah.
And but then at the same time, sometimes you just aren't funny. Like some of your scripts, I've looked and gone, how do I do this professionally? How do I just go and tell people that this is great, Jolien, and then just go, but we'll move on from that, come back again.
I'm just picturing being on my yacht while you solve this agency problem.
Yeah. So let's go back then. Let's go back to the audience then, because I think that is one of the fundamentals that where all advertising, all communication should come from. Is it should start from the audience, and it should start from a place of attention or an insight, some truth that we can really connect with.
Yeah.
The question is that can we actually find that moment through AI, or whether that really you have to find it through talking to someone and really gauging how they feel about it. Because it's a bit like looking through reports and saying, busy mums are tired. That famous insight that they're busy and they're mums and that they are tired. And I've yet to have more colour from AI to be able to describe what's actually keeping them up at night, apart from their children as such.
Yeah.
Like how can we find a way to maybe use a bit of AI,
Yeah.
but then still connect with them in a way or understand them, because everything is changing all the time. Like we're in a crazy world right now. We've always been in a crazy world. I think the last since Trump came on board anyway, it's become just nonsense. Like anything is possible to see in the news now. Just anything.
Yeah. You don't know what's real. What's not.
And I feel that the issue that we have with AI is that it's based on past historical data. So it's not looking at necessarily what's going to happen in the future, but it's what's happening in the past. And then forming some form of predictive capacity to go and say, well, this has happened here, so that might happen again.
You should tell the petrol station thing. This is a good example, I think.
Yeah, and the other issue that we've got is it's very logical. And humans aren't logical. Yet, when the moments are when you need it to be very logical, it becomes too logical. And there's this very famous moment where if you go and ask AI, I've run out of petrol. The petrol station is 50 meters away. How best should I go and get the petrol? The AI will tell you, you should walk. Sorry, I'll tell that anecdote again. You're low on petrol.
Low on petrol.
Low on petrol.
That's better.
And so you should drive. Like the natural inclination is the logical answer is that you should just go drive to the petrol station and pick it up. But the AI logic is that actually you don't
want to waste any more petrol.
and it's a mess that comes with that. So I think that with practice, we can replicate audiences to a point where you can feel confident that you're going to get to a 90% tolerance on what it means to understand a piece of communication with them. But to truly understand the audience in the first place, I'm not sure that you can quite get there. So this is really pulling apart my wish that we could create this eternal circle of advertising life.
I guess the question that I think that we'll end up leading to is a hybrid, right? That would be the best solution.
It is. My other concern though at the moment is that, so we have a colleague, she may be here today, and she has a very interesting relationship with Claude. It's called Klaus, and she's German, and we're very fond of her as one of our business partners, and she's done incredible work for us and made us grow in so many ways. But you start talking to people and you realize that we go to AI as a form of advice, as a form of being able to sense check things, to go, is this the best thing? Should I do this? Even to relationship capacity. Many people have rewritten an email where they're absolutely fuming and then you go, is this too passive aggressive? And you're like, no, this is angry, this will make you lose your job, etc.
Yeah.
So the issue that I have is that how do we manage the client not using AI to then go and validate the work that we're creating within our little synthetic world, which is exactly the same thing as what would be happening, and we would still have no taste, we would still have no real understanding.
Yeah, and I think because of the way that the world is moving and at such a fast pace, it almost is like the reflective nature of culture. It will be really impactful on my avatar, my what do you call it, my agent,
Yeah.
to the point where will that keep up with culture?
Well, you
But-
could API into you,
Yeah.
not physically into you, but into your agent. So you can have all these news stories happening. You
That
can
would change
have
that.
cultural stories, cultural
Yeah.
documents all going into that. I'm still not sure that it would see the world like you do, because you see the world in a bit of an odd way. And I think that's what's beautiful about, and the benefit for the success that we've had is because if you see the world in the vanilla way that so many other people see it, then you're not showing like a story in a way that hasn't been told before, you know?
Yeah.
And so on that basis, I wonder if that, could we make you weird enough?
I don't think so.
What do you think makes you weird? By the way, I've been wishing that I could ask this question during a moment of being recorded. So we'll cut there for a second. Back again to this. What makes you weird?
That's a good question. So
How?
I don't know, that's a hard question.
It is
to
a hard
answer.
question.
What makes you weird?
You have a lot of you have a nose for the unusual.
Makes me sound really strange.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah.
I guess I think it's not just about like what you like consume in the world and see. I think it is just like I have a constant sort of want to I'd be surprised, I guess, like that more like almost like see things that I see opportunities in things where I'm like that maybe aren't there to other people. I guess it's a tough question to answer. Why are you so weird?
That's okay.
Why are you so normal?
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, let's go back then. So we're going through. So let's go back to culture. So traditional big ad agencies, they'll go and teach you. I'm a strategist by trade. I actually came from years ago. Our dad ran a hotel, so we come from hospitality, being brought up, had hotels and pubs and stuff. So coming to a big ad agency where you were told that you learnt about the consumer or the buyer or however through Google made no sense to me, or reports, or attending a research session where you've picked 6 people in the world that would represent this entire audience. It made no sense to us. But when it comes to culture, you do have to live and breathe it.
Yeah.
You do need to feel it. You can't just go and say, there is a tension there by theory, because if you don't feel the tension, then that's not going to elevate into the work.
No, it's interpretation, right? It's like your interpretation of something versus my interpretation of something, very different.
Yeah, and the issue again with AI, which we're trying to, within this world of trying to build out a model that could solve everything and we could go and sit on a yacht somewhere, is that when in culture, when something moves to more mass, it leaves something behind. And so what we call is that there is a starvation of something when something is overfed in culture. And the issue is that to be able to get AI to see that and to feel that and to recognize that could be a potential problem in the future, because some of the best work doesn't play on what's happening now.
Yeah. It's
about what's emerging within culture. And every time I've tried to look at it, apart from the fact that it agrees with everything I say, trying to work out how could we build a modern, like, progressive culture within a model. And I keep falling back on my head on this.
Yeah, I can't see how we can get there very soon at all.
Do you think we could ever get there?
Not to the level of nuance I think you need to come up with like original, unhinged, weird ideas. I think you need to have. There is an element of nuance that I don't think it can ever reach. I think we can get close to things and it will help, and it will, we'll get to a point where it kind of rules out a lot of interesting, like, a lot of like almost, I call it sort of creative vomit and things like that, or strategic vomit. It's that kind of work that possibly kills a lot of time and actually can get that out of the way in a fraction of a second. So I think like that for me will get better and better to the point where arguably we'll get to a world where actually getting to these more unhinged, more weird, more wonderful, more unique ideas will be easier. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to be as like linear as we want it to be for our purposes, but at the same time I think we can get to a point where the actual opportunity for those more unique ideas is clearer because the grunt work arguably has been done. That's the exciting bit for me when it comes to creative, possibly, and I assume for you for strategy in that sense, is that we don't have to we can focus in on those bits.
So here's the issue that because I've been thinking about this a long time, we've been working now 6 years together. Tacitly we were working in different agencies and asking each other why our creators couldn't solve my strategy and why his strategy was rubbish to help him solve it creatively. So we have a client called Fussy. They do natural deodorant that is refillable, non-plastic, incredible business. We've been fortunate to be on their journey from sales of 1 million up to now nearly 50 million. It's an outstanding story. We've now met Deborah Meaden, the Dragon's Den investor, I think four times. Yeah. Because every idea that we put forward, we go, we won't do this unless Deborah's involved, and she is fantastic and a great personality to have. But to put this in perspective, we have a creative hotline, if you will, with our clients. And he said, I want to win Christmas. And I said, Matt, we spoke about this. Like, you said you didn't want to do Christmas. Well, I've decided that all the other work I've seen is rubbish and we can do better.
This was end of November, by the way, so it was a little bit close.
So we had pretty much 10 days to air.
10 days to air, yeah.
10 days to air. And we went back with an idea which we never thought the client, Matt, would sign off. But we thought it was a great idea. And the context is that Fussy were bringing out a new deodorant that was called
Lost Claws.
Lost Claws,
yeah.
Based on the scent of Santa. And so how do you communicate that in a way? Now, if I ever put this into AI, what I would get would be just drivel and nothing that I would ever be proud to put out in the world. And so you can imagine when I'm sat in this first creative review and Jolion's saying to me, I know this sounds a little bit strange, but picture this. There's a young boy. The young boy is running downstairs. He's like, Santa, Santa, Santa's been here. And then, Daddy, why do you smell like Santa? And then there's this weirdness between the parents. They're like, well, it's like maybe his scent's still in the air and so on and so forth. And then there's this oddness, and the mum and the dad are looking at each other, and then you cut to find that Santa is in bed with the mum and the dad.
And they had a threesome.
Arguably.
I think, your question about the weirdness of my brain.
Yes.
To me, that was the most logical thing in the world. Like, when I was telling this story, I was like, no, but it makes total sense. George was like, you're really weird, and everyone was sort of thing. But when we made it and we put it out there, the unhinged was probably one of the most used words in the comments I'd ever seen. But I think it's up to like 7 million organic views on Instagram just because it was so out there and bizarre. But again, I think that's a good example of my weird brain where it was just like the logic of that. But to your point, about AI in that instance, it would never have. I don't think it would ever have got there.
No.
I think it's one of those ideas where it would not have understood what we were trying to do. And to be honest, it was like it took quite a lot of convincing the client that we knew this was the right decision, but we stuck by it. And I think that is a good example of when I actually don't think AI would ever get there.
No. Or by chance, it would be. No, I'm not even sure.
By chance. I don't think it would get there by chance. I mean, maybe. I mean, I would love it to, but I don't think it will.
So what you're telling me is that I can't replicate you right now. and I will never be able to replicate you, because this is a very disappointing moment if this is the case.
I guess the problem I've got now is that I might be able to replicate you.
So this is a problem. This is a massive problem, and this happened, I think it was nearly 2 years ago, I think something like 18 months ago. We had done some work for Vinteria, and the headline or the idea was you're better than Flatpak. And Vinteria is a vintage furniture platform. And so we were making an enemy of Flatpak furniture, subtly talking to IKEA and IKEA buyers. Super successful campaign. We even had one of the headlines was
no Swedish meatballs,
no instructions, no divorce. And this caused a Reddit war between people who loved IKEA and people who loved vintage furniture.
It's more like people who love meatballs.
and then it became there was a meatball thread as well, which was like, and I then went and asked AI, even back then, would you roast our work? Would you mock our work? It came back with the most succinct, strategic understanding of what we'd done, more so than I could ever write. Like, it was elegant, it was spot on. And then I started to realize, oh my goodness, if this is what it's capable of doing, then where am I going to sit in the future? This is a very bad revelation within my world here right now.
I guess the only plus is that in 2 years it hasn't got smarter. Like it's done other things, but has it got smarter than that moment? I don't know.
So I think AI is fantastic at deconstructing elements. I think it's great at turning something into a framework. I think it's excellent at giving suggestions of where you could go, but it's not great at bringing a sense of what I describe as creative strategy.
No.
It's still back in that logical, almost like sometimes I feel it's like a management consultant comes in and gives, here's a 5-point framework of how you can do this. But in terms of actual, rigor,
yeah,
it struggles.
It hasn't got it, and it will always kind of I feel like, and it sounds really weird, but I think AI is actually getting lazy, and it's getting to the point where it's like you said, but I think the lying actually comes from it kind of going, no, I've got the answer. This is the answer.
Well, I mean, as an aside, I actually think it's to do with the fact that they're trying to restrict the amount of usage that is happening, so they won't give the full answer
straight away.
Because, of course, for this event and for this talk, I tried to get AI to write it all, which was problematic on many levels.
It did write a funny comedy sketch.
It did actually write a funny comedy.
Well, I wouldn't say funny, but I had to rewrite the funny bits.
Yeah. But then we realised, so we'd just been in Paris and with another client, and we were flying over, and we were like, we're never going to remember this comedy sketch. Are we actually funny as individuals in ourselves? Yeah. Had a real moment of enlightenment. We're saying that no one's actually going to want to hear this comedy sketch, especially it's been written by AI.
It would be quite a revelation if we just came out and said this entire thing was scripted and it was all AI.
That would be amazing. So let's pull back on track here. So
yes,
what we're saying here is actually that you can't kill your agency completely.
No.
Or that if you what can they kill?
In some ways, I think we're obviously thinking a lot about this. Is that I think actually everyone needs to kill their agency in the sense of that they need to start again.
Yeah.
Not in like a completely like throw everything out, but in the sense of I think to actually to get with the times, I think you need to throw away a lot of the old stuff and just come at things in a fresh perspective. And I think one thing we do very well is we're constantly evolving, and I think there's a lot of agencies out there, and the agency model itself is kind of designed. We've had success, so let's literally replicate that success. And I think the problem with agencies now, and not all agencies, but a lot of agencies, is that they just follow this pattern and going, well, that's how we've done it in the past, so we must continue to do it. And I think what AI is showing is that there are other ways to do it, and it's not as black and white as we would hoped it would be. But it is definitely a useful and helpful tool And I think to kill your agency and start fresh, you can, and to get to somewhere really good, I think the only way to do that is to be that brutal and rebuild it in a very different way.
Should we be paid less? Because this is another big problem. Right? We shouldn't. Hold on. Hold on. Our very big audience here is saying, yes, lady at the back, back. So, because agencies have lived, and certainly something that we got frustrated, and for our origins of 10 days was very much that we would get a brief and we would crack it in 10 days, and we came to market and trying to rewrite everything, and we go from strategy, creative, production, music, and when we first came out, that's what we challenged. When Bumble came to us and said we have 9 days to air, our agency has cocked it up. What can you help? And I was like, no, we cannot help. We're 10 days. We can only do things in 10 days, not 9 days. It turns out, though, that we could do things in 9 days, but we didn't tell them that. And so we got to air in 9 days. Some of the most successful work that they've done, Amy Lou Wood doing a 3.5-minute stand-up sketch talking about going back to dating again. And the context was that they just wanted to show people going back and enjoying dating. And we're like, no one wants a brand to tell you just after COVID that you should just go back and date. So we wanted to make it familiar, funny, etc. that came from that.
Yeah.
Where that was going?
I have no idea.
No, but fortunately this is being filmed and anything could be edited at any point, which I think is wonderful.
AI is going to edit it for us, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, so we're going back to the value of that. And so the thing was that looking back, this was nearly five years ago. Our value was put on time.
Yeah.
So we were going to spend 10 days, and that's what we were going to do. But in real terms now, and agencies have kind of milked the fact, the more people, the more time they spend, the more money they make. But in real terms, we really should be going to this model of saying, an idea that impacts a business should have value in itself beyond just how many people, how much time, etc. that goes into it. And I don't want to get to that plumber scenario where you pay for experience, because I don't think that's exactly what it is. I think it's more of the case of that you are asked that your task is to create a change, create impact. And whether it's performance-based or whether it's just purely in being able to bring an idea to the table, however fast or slow that might be, the value should be just in that.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really help my agentic model.
No.
Because it's just going to then be valued as regressively going backwards to the smallest amount possible. But then maybe we might get on that yacht.
Maybe.
So if we were to tell clients now to kill their agency, you're saying evaluate everything, know that there is expertise that AI can never replace, arguably, that you need to have in order to cut through. There needs to be counsel that is given that is strong strategically, that understands the audience truly, that understands culture truly, that you have a creative mind or set of minds that can go and challenge something so that it doesn't become a story that everyone's familiar with, and it's comfortable. People do need to feel uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
And as long as you've got those elements reorganized in a way that can work in a workflow that is modern now, where content is being produced all the time, that to be culturally relevant, that you need to be on point, that you can't just be campaign after campaign, you'll be reactive at those moments. To have something like that is agile like that uses AI where it is helpful, that would be your advice to this audience.
Yes.
What does the audience think?